ClickUp Documents. How to organize them. What can we store in them? What information should we put? How do we format it? How do we make sure the information is easy to access and it's clear? Can we change the font? Can we share them internally? Can we publish them online? ClickUp Docs is one of the features my clients are always puzzled about because they often use Microsoft Word or Google Docs already and they don't know how to make use of ClickUp Documents and how they can be useful for their business. In this video, I'm gonna answer those questions and talk about ClickUp Documents, which is probably one of the least spoken about features of ClickUp because when you think of ClickUp, you think of task management and not really document management. First off, we'll talk about the best practices around ClickUp Documents, how you should use them and where to store them in ClickUp. And then I'll demo how to create a document, how to format it, set it up the right way so that information is easily highlighted and you can even share it online and create landing pages in ClickUp Documents. Stay till the end and you'll grasp all the possibilities of ClickUp Docs. And if you're interested to go further, there's a link in the description where I explain in details how to make use of ClickUp Documents. If you're interested, you can grab that cheat sheet. It goes much deeper than the video and you can share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, and never forget or miss anything about ClickUp Documents. Let's get started with best practices. So when it comes to ClickUp Documents, there's a few things to remember. I'd say there are four main best practices. First one is to centralize your documents. You don't want to have documents scattered all over your workspace because in ClickUp, there are basically four ways to store your docs. I'm going to show you right now. You can go into the Docs hub here on the top left, and you can create a document right here, and it will not be stored anywhere. It will just be in that Docs hub, and you can access it later. Obviously, you can change the location in the future, but just so you know, this is the central place to see all your ClickUp documents, no matter the location. Next up, you can store documents in the hierarchy. So if you go in the marketing space and add a document right here, it will pop up in the hierarchy. Then you can also store your document as a view in the space, for example, and that way it will appear right here. So we have a wiki for marketing as a view in the space. That's the way I recommend, but we'll get back to it. The last way to create the document is to go straight into a task. So we'll open up that task right here in our list and create a new document. You're going to add attachment and new doc, and a new doc is created inside that task. So again, in the hub, in the hierarchy, inside of a task, or as a view right here on top. And the way I recommend is to create it as a view because you want to have one consistent way of storing your documents. You don't want to have documents in your hierarchy, in a task, in the hub. And in my opinion, the best for organization is to have them as a view because I think of the hierarchy as a storage for my tasks, for my lists, and I don't want to mix up my tasks and my documents. So the view is, to me, the best way to store documents in ClickUp. It's a quick access. If you're in the everything level, for example, you could have a wiki. Here we have an agency wiki and it's easy to access. It's quick. Everyone knows it's in the views. Be consistent with your document storage. Next tip, organize your document with pages and subpages. Back to the wiki that I just shown you, you have pages right here inside that document, and in each of those pages, you have subpages that you can toggle on and off, and you can go very deep in terms of levels. It's much better to have a document storing 20 pages than to have 20 documents in ClickUp with one page each. Make use of that subpage feature and centralize your documents. Again, organize with pages and subpages. Next, access rights. Make sure you give the right access rights. And the thing is, with documents, you cannot give access rights only to a page. You have to give access to the whole document or nothing. Now, ClickUp might update that feature in the future. Maybe you'll be able to give access to specific pages in documents. And this would be great because this is heavily requested by businesses because you would be able to have a single document and give access to the pages and all the subpages below. But for now, you have to make sure that you create as many documents as sharing scopes you have, let's say. That's why I recommend to structure your ClickUp documentation that way. So you will have a company wiki that's accessible to everyone. And in that company wiki, you will store your information from whichever is static. So whichever doesn't really change and is very strategic, very high level for the company, to whichever is more dynamic and fluid. So whichever is used as templates, it's not used frequently, whatever changes often is stored right there in the bottom. So if you think of that company wiki, for example, we have the high level information here on top, and here on the bottom, we have the most dynamic information. So we have SOPs, we have templates, we have the ClickUp setup SOPs, etc. If you're interested in getting that document, by the way, this is part of the ClickUp Master training course I give. You have that document, but you also have a bunch of templates, SOPs, meeting note templates, and you can use this straight in your own ClickUp. It's plug and play, and that way it will save you a lot of time from creating a documentation. So if you're interested, the link to the training ClickUp Master is in the description. Now back to user rights. If we click share here, we can share this document with anyone in our company. So we can give view only, edit access, or comment access. It works kind of the same way as the hierarchy, as the spaces, the folders, the list. So you have 3 levels that you can pick from. But as you can see, if I click share this page, the only thing I can do is share the page publicly. And we'll get back to that later, but you cannot share the page internally. So that's one of the downsides. And that's why in that case, I would do a company wiki where you have all the high level info. And if you have department specific info, I would do a department wiki for each department. So say you have a sales wiki, a delivery wiki, a marketing wiki, you want to have those stored in the views of those spaces. So if we get back to ClickUp, in the marketing space, we have a wiki for marketing, and we can give access to the right people in this document. So say Diane is in my marketing team, I'll give her comment access, and Lucius as well. And I can just give access to the right people. That's the only way to fine tune permissions for documents. You have to have one document per scope of permission and give that access to the right people at the whole document level. Now ClickUp, if you're watching this, please let us give access to pages only. Now we're done when it comes to best practices and advices of use. Just to summarize, centralize your docs, make sure that information is as centralized as possible in views, ideally with pages and subpages. Don't create too many documents, otherwise you're going to end up with a document hub that's looking like 1,000 documents and it's a mess. It's really hard to organize documents because ClickUp doesn't really work like your computer. It doesn't have folders and your documents will just be scattered everywhere. And finally, make sure that your access rights match your documents. So create as many documents as you have to give access rights. I think you got to understand the challenge. It's about finding that balance between the centralization and the access rights and permissions to create just the right amount of documents. Now we're done with that part, and let's move on to how to create and structure a document in ClickUp. I'm back to ClickUp and I'm gonna create a new document here in my hub, and I'll click create doc, and ClickUp lets you create documents from templates. That's one way to do it. You could go here in the magic one and click template, and you can use an existing template if you know what you're going to talk about. So say we have a brand guideline that we want to create, we're going to click brand guidelines, pull that one up, and it should create a page right here that we can use. Here you have a brand guidelines, we can just copy paste it, adapt it, fine tune it for our own use. Now, I don't recommend you to use templates for most cases because templates are going to be very generic. It's going to be filled up with images, information you don't want. It's not necessarily going to look great for your own use case. So instead of that, I recommend you to start from scratch and create a new blank page. And it's good because it will let you understand all the possibilities and formatting of ClickUp Docs. So we're going to create this one, call it example doc, and we're going to create our blank page, and I'm going to explain you a little bit how ClickUp document formatting works. ClickUp uses a format that's very standard to the internet called Markdown. It's a very common document editing format that you can find online. It's called Markdown, and if you're interested to know more about Markdown and how to use Markdown shortcuts in your ClickUp Docs, there is the cheat sheet in the description, and most of the interesting shortcuts will be right there. So you can access that cheat sheet and get to understand how it works. Basically, if we were to use a shortcut like hashtag, for example, we'd be able to create a title. So I'll say this one is title 1. And if I do hashtag twice, it's title 2. And 3 times, it's title 3. That's one example. Something else I can do is format my text. So I can say it's in bold. If I do Command V, it will do bold. If I do Command I, it will do italic. And if I do Command U, it will do underlined text. Now, if I use that little arrow, it will create a quote. So this is a quote, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of shortcuts for Markdown, but you don't have to know those actually, because ClickUp lets you create formatted content very easily with what's called the command slash. If you click slash on your keyboard, when you break down, when you go through to a new line, you'll be able to create new items. You'll be able to create pages, columns, checklist, banners. Say I want to create a checklist. I'll do fish, apple, carrots, and I can just tick those and create a mini grocery shopping list in ClickUp. Now, I don't know if you've seen, but each time I hover over a line, there's these little dots that appear, and it's because ClickUp uses a block system. So each of those are blocks, and you can actually move them to the top or to the bottom. And you can even move them to the side and create columns. You could have a column right here and have different columns that way. If you were to do hashtag column, you can also create two columns. So this is, let's say, text formatting. Let's move on to the banners. And you can create banners in ClickUp to make things look nice and format them in a more highlighted way. So for important information, you can highlight that using banners. So I'll do slash and banners, and I'll call out a green banner for a success info. And then I can add an icon, for example. I can turn that into bold. I can make it bigger by clicking hashtag once, and so on and so forth. I can actually duplicate my banner if I want to. So I'll just duplicate this one and call it alert. And I can just change the icon and change the color if I wanted to. I'll put it to red. You can create banners. You can format them the way you want. You can have a small one in yellow if you wanted to. That way we have a info banner. You can really customize this the way you want when it comes to banners. Now let's talk about layouts. So I'll add a part called layout, and I'll show you some examples. I'll show you an example of 2 columns layout, and it suggests me the 2 columns block. So I can have 2 columns already pre-built, and I can add an image in the second column, and I can just upload an image from my computer. I can also center it. I can make this bigger or smaller if I wanted to, and just add some content below. This is an image of a briefcase. Okay, cool. So we have a layout of 2 columns. Now we could have a layout of 3 columns if we wanted to. We could do command slash and type 3, and then 3 columns. And we have 3 columns. We can just drag and drop our banners in there, for example. Just move them that way, and that's it. We could also have a table. So I'll just do slash table and add a table. So I'll just put this one a little bit darker and call it product, quantity, and price. And say this one is $300. I'll say, okay, so we have a car and it's $300, pretty cheap, and a boat and it's $3,000. So we can format our table the way we want. We can make the first items in bold if you want to. You can really customize your document and your table the way you want. As you can see, there's a lot of formatting. And if I do command slash, you will see there's a bunch of other possibilities. So I can add subpages, tables, banners, checklists, columns. The list is very long. One last thing I didn't talk about is all the embedded content you can add. So you can integrate content from other software into ClickUp. If I want to add a YouTube video, I can just say, this is YouTube. And then with command slash, I can call out Cloud App, YouTube, Vimeo, Figma, Loom, etc. There's a lot of software. You can add Google Slides, you can add Google Docs and view them very quickly into your ClickUp document. So I'll add a YouTube video, and I just copied and pasted the link of that YouTube video, and as you can see, it's embedded in my ClickUp document. So I can see it right here. I can go through it, navigate it, listen to it, watch it, whatever I want. So this is an example of embedded content. As you can see, you can go very far in how you format the document. And this is just for text formatting. But you can go even further and format the page in itself. If we go into page details, you can choose to change the font. You can have a mono font, a serif font, you can have a larger font, you can have a full page width document, you can choose to add a cover image. So we can add, for example, an image. This one is looking nice. We can add an icon. I'll just click add icon right here, and I'll add a robot icon. Perfect. You could also add a sticky table of contents, and that way you'll be able to access your content very quickly right here. Layout, alert, success info, banners. That's one way to see your table of content, but if you were to do command table here, you can create a quick table of content, and it's gonna dynamically pull all the titles from your document to give you this little summary of how your document is structured. That's very handy if you're going through a very long ClickUp document and you want these type of anchor links to your chapters. Let's get back to page details. We can also protect the page, protect the document, and view the word count. So you can see the amount of words in that page. For example, if you're using this to create all of your blog articles, you can type in your blog article and know the word count. Google has minimum word counts or recommended word counts for good SEO, and you can refer to that and view it quickly right here. You can view that statistics for the whole page or for the whole document if you wanted to, and have the whole amount of word counts. That's it for the basic information, but if we go into the advanced page details, you can even customize the font size even further, make it even bigger. You can customize the line height. You can make it taller or smaller if you wanted to. You can customize the spacing, make it bigger as well, and the page width as well. You can really fine tune it to whatever you want and what works for you. As you can see, the formatting is really detailed. You can go pretty deep. What I like the most about ClickUp Documents when you compare them to Google Documents or Microsoft Word is the simplicity of it. There's only a few options of formatting. It works in blocks. It's pretty straightforward. You can have columns, you can have tables, but it's clear, you know. Whereas for Word documents or Google Docs, you can really choose between 1,000 fonts. You can choose between 1,000 colors, customize so many things. But the problem is that you don't really standardize the layout for your business, and you want to have things standardized. You want to have the same page width, the same clarity, the same structure for everything to be consistent. And you can actually apply all of this setup that you do to all pages by just clicking here, and it will apply to the whole document. So that's it for page details. And we have a pretty neat document right here. But what if I wanted to create a public document in ClickUp? I'm going to show you how that looks. I'll delete this page, and let me also delete the content of this one, and we'll call this one ClickUp Voice Assistant. I'm going to create a landing page that I'm going to publish online for ClickUp Voice Assistant. And I'm going to use Write with AI for this one. ClickUp has some very interesting AI features, and if you're actually interested about this, I have a dedicated video about how to leverage ClickUp AI for your business and how to use it as a real assistant in ClickUp rather than just prompting it with stuff that's not really useful. If you're interested about seeing some very concrete business use cases of ClickUp AI, you can have a look at that dedicated video in my playlists. We'll click Write with AI, and for this one, I'll say, you're a pro web copywriter, write a landing page for ClickUp Voice Assistant plugin. And then you can decide of the tone of voice and the creativity level. You can really fine tune this. And if you know about AI and AI prompting, just know that behind the scenes, it's ChatGPT, it's OpenAI. You can really fine tune that prompt and make sure it works for you. We'll click generate, and ClickUp will just create a landing page that we can then integrate in our document. We can just insert it with just one click. We click insert right here, and we have our landing page for ClickUp Voice Assistant. Introducing ClickUp Voice Assistant plugin, unleash the power, etc. Amazing. I'll just go into page details and I'll add a subtitle. I'll paste this one right here so that it's pretty. And then I can actually change the image to Voice Assistant. I'll add a nice image. Let's use this one. I'll put it here. And then I can add some more content. I'm going to take this image that I found online. I'll just add it right here, and I can just add it as a column. Maybe the layout will be nicer. And then I can make this one red in a red banner, and I can make this one in a red color if I wanted to, or pink color, whatever. Maybe we can have the steps as column. That would make sense. Install the plugin, speak your mind, and enjoy the productivity. Great. That's looking nice. I can format it even further. I can turn this one into blue banners, and I'll add a number, turn, banner. Perfect. And here we have a call to action. We have a link. So instead of having just a link, I'll do /button, and I can add a button into my page. I'll call it download now, and I can just use any link and put it in the center, and I'll just pick a color that you can easily see, like purple, and I can even highlight it further. You know what? I'll just embed it into another red banner so that you can't really miss it. Perfect. So we have our link right there. And I'm going to remove this one, and we have our landing page. So it's looking nice. We have some interesting content. We have some images, some colors, some steps, some columns. Now, say I'm happy with this landing page, I can just publish it online, and to do so, I'll click share here on the top. And instead of sharing the document, I'll click share this page and go to share with anyone. Now, before sharing it, ClickUp offers me two things. You can share this with search engines, and that way anyone that searches this page on Google might find it, and then public duplication. So you can let people duplicate this page and use it themselves in their own ClickUp. So you can turn that on as well. I'll turn those off, and I'll click copy public link, and I can just paste this in my browser, and this will load my landing page. I have a full-on landing page that I created in about 5 minutes, straight in ClickUp. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to pay for hosting. You don't have to know about how to code, how to create a page. It takes you a few seconds. Now, obviously, the only downside is that it's branded as ClickUp, so you cannot really use this for a very large business, but to get things going and share something online, it's perfect. I actually share my personal free content, everything that I give you away, as ClickUp documents. Saves me a lot of time from editing them and publishing them online. And if you're interested about getting the cheat sheet to ClickUp Docs, you can actually access it in the description. It's a ClickUp document. Thanks for watching this. I hope it's clear, and I hope it opens your mind to all the possibilities of having private documents, having public documents, and all the best practices on how to create and format ClickUp Docs. Now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay productive.